Good morning. My name is Vida Shamsuddin, and I am the Director for the Technology and Innovation Sector. We want to welcome everyone to our June collaborative meeting today. We are very excited to have you. For everyone, my name is Vida Shamsuddin. As I've introduced myself, I'd also like to say that I am here with John Miller, who is our Program Manager for the Technology and Innovation Sector, as well as the Manufacturing and Supply Chain Sector. The New Jersey Pathways Initiative, in partnership with NJBIA, has brought these collaborative meetings every month since we kicked off in January. And we do topics that we know are very meaningful for our educational partners and our workforce development partners and all the partners in our ecosystem. So with that, today's topic is engaging adult learners. And that topic is so important for us. I think before I go into that, I am being queued up to make sure that you open up your phones on this QR code, because as you have what we know is going to be an amazing experience today, we like your feedback because we always want to, this is a collaboration by definition. So that means we always want to know what you're thinking, and we absolutely want you to share your thoughts on our presentations, the information shared, and if there's additional information that you want to see. Next slide, please. And also, we're engaged across social media, and we'd like you to participate. So if you are participating, you're on platforms, hit us with our hashtag NJ Pathways. Next slide, please. So today's agenda. What is in store? We have a great panel discussion today. We're going to also be highlighting our guest speaker, Kevin Kurtziel from GSETA today. We have a panel discussion, the importance of engaging adult learners and best practices. And our president of the New Jersey Council of County Colleges, Dr. Aaron Fichtner, will be facilitating that presentation today. And next up, after that dynamic panel discussion, we're going to be highlighting our pathway to career opportunities in our partnership with the Middlesex College and the Middlesex County Workforce Development Board. So with that, I am going to turn the floor over to our president, Dr. Aaron Fichtner. Aaron, the Zoom floor is yours.
Thank you, Vida. Good to see you. Good to see John, and good to see our partners in workforce development and so many people here from different parts of this really vital collaborative. I think that really excited to have Kevin, Fran, and Antonio with us today for this discussion. And we're going to start with Kevin, but I just wanted to say a couple of opening remarks to Vida to go on what you said. We're focusing here on the innovation technology industry, an industry that we know is rapidly changing. It's also an industry that appears to prize skills over degrees in many ways. And it's an industry that's going to go through lots of changes in the future. And so this discussion of adult learners in this industry is critically important. And we know that our partners in workforce development boards are really on the front lines of ensuring that we're all better understanding the needs of the economy, and that we are here to help people who are unemployed, underemployed, have limited opportunities, get the skills, experiences, and connections that they'll need to get jobs in this industry. And so it's my pleasure to introduce our partner, Kevin Kurtziel, who is leading the Garden State Employment and Training Association. And Kevin, thank you for joining in a memorandum of partnership between our consortium and GSETA, because we have so much in common in terms of our common interests in opening up doors of opportunity for more people and doing it in an equitable way and building a skilled workforce. So Kevin, to turn the floor over to you, but great to see you. Thank you for being with us, and thanks for your partnership.
Thanks, Aaron. It's always a pleasure to participate in events with you and your team. I commented the other day to John Miller and to Vida that I'm really impressed by the experience and wealth of knowledge that your team has and the team that you and Catherine put together, just so many great people that I've had the opportunity to work with, many who've been involved in workforce development for many years. So it's always exciting to be here with your organization. And you did reference the agreement that we recently entered into with between the Garden State Employment Training Association and Council of County Colleges. And I think that agreement really fits very nicely with the mission of GACITA, which is to provide leadership and promote quality and excellence for the advancement of New Jersey's workforce development system and the customers and professionals that it serves. And so when you speak of adult learners, those are probably, adult learners are, I would say, the majority of the folks that we serve through the Career One-Stop Centers. And so the collaboration that we've begun, I think, is going to result in creating a stronger workforce development system, certainly here in New Jersey, and I think will become a model for other states to follow in the years to come. And I think that I'm always excited about innovation and trying to start new projects and to kind of put the pieces of the puzzle together to see how we can all work together. So as I said, it's a pleasure to be here. And just to speak a little bit about GACITA, I just realized today that in 3 years, the organization is going to celebrate its 50th anniversary. And so, you know, to put that into perspective, I think that the organization has had many different kind of, I would say, flavors over those past 5 decades, or certainly nearly 5 decades. And depending on the people who lead the organization, it kind of takes a different approach. And I think our approach this term, and I'm entering into now the 2nd year of my first term, I think can best be stated by our new tagline that we came up with, which is strategic impact and operational excellence. And that's really what it's about. It's about taking the strategy, the policy, and pretty much the things that are on paper, right, and making them come to life. And I think that this collaboration speaks to that, and also including the NJBIA in this initiative really makes a lot of sense. We're bringing all the right players to the table, and I'm excited because it brings the innovation that we all, I think, strive for. It brings that innovation to life. So a couple of things that I just also want to mention about GACITA before I turn it back to you, Aaron, is that in the first time, and I just said we're almost been in existence for 50 years, it's this month is actually the first time that we've actually hired an executive director to help us lead the charge of our organization. And so I'm excited about that. She began, her name is Samantha Pfeiffer. She began earlier this month, and she's going to also be helping us manage a lot of our projects and initiatives moving forward. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, I want to shamelessly plug our virtual conference, which will be taking place in October on the 18th and 19th. Information on that will be forthcoming. And of course, I'm hoping that we can present this initiative as one of the workshops during the virtual conference as well. So more information to come on that. But for those of you who have participated in our virtual conference last year, it was very well received. I think everybody enjoyed it. This year, we decided to once again do the conference virtual because of just the uncertainty of things. And I think we're pretty much back to normal with things. But this year, we're doing it virtual. And the next year, we will be back, unless something else happens, we will be back in person in Atlantic City. So I just wanted to throw that out there as well. And just again, thank you and Catherine for working along with us and really, continuing the great relationship that we started many years ago. Although some of us may have different roles, we're still doing the same work and we're still serving the same people. So once again, thank you for having me be part of this initiative and also to be part of this great call this morning.
Great, thanks, Kevin, and always good to see you and partner with you. Interesting that GACITA is celebrating 50th anniversary. I was just on Monday night at the graduation of Passaic County Community College. That was their 50th commencement. Wow. So it is not lost on me that we have community colleges that are about 50 years older in New Jersey, and we've got obviously workforce programs that are really hitting 50 years. Yep. And while we kind of grew up in parallel tracks, I think there's been a real convergence in real recent years, a recognition that we can't exist in the silos that maybe we've existed in for too long. And so really excited for this partnership. And I hope that what we do today in the discussion with Fran and Antonio and you, Kevin, is to, inspire folks on this call today to offer some suggestions and ideas about how we can strengthen this partnership between workforce development and education in ways that opens up more opportunity for people, that make sure that we're aligned with the needs of employers, in this case, focusing on innovation tech employers.
Yeah, it makes, Aaron, it makes a lot of sense. And, I think that in the past, there's been collaboration, but it's never been to the degree that we're building now. I think the capacity that we're building, as I said, is going to become a model for other states and other institutions of higher education and other workforce development systems.
Yeah, agreed, Kevin. And I know we're going to hear some really interesting ideas from Fran and Antonio, and we're going to see a great model between, Kevin, your team at Middlesex and Middlesex College. But I really want to encourage the other folks on this call to put your ideas and suggestions in the chat. I think that the challenges that we face, Kevin, as a state are great. We have way too many folks that are left behind in this economy. We have huge equity gaps, and we need to make sure we've got a skilled workforce. It looks like Antonio had a last minute conflict, so Antonio won't be with us today. So Kevin, I'm going to drag you into this conversation, sure. Fran, if I could. So Fran, good to see you. Thank you for being here.
Nice to see you too, Dr. Fichtner.
Don't call me that because I can't solve your medical problems, Fran, but it's good to see you. And it's great to have partnered with you over many, many years on many important pieces of work. So Fran, why don't I turn to you? You've been doing a lot of leading cutting edge work in Atlantic County and environs, trying to help people connect to opportunities.
Right. So
share a little bit about your perspective of the work you do in workforce development, the connections you have with employers, and kick us off with some thoughts on how we might work together.
I think the first thing to understand, South Jersey, especially Southeast Jersey and Atlantic County, it's been a hospitality, retail, and tourism hub for years and generations. And the workforce that is currently here is focused on customer service. And that is has been the primary intent for probably the past 2 generations. And we're now at the point where that is no longer a reliable industry for much of the population here. In the past 5 years, there was a survey that was conducted to kind of project the future of Atlantic County. The Atlantic County Economic Alliance is a 501c3 nonprofit, but it is the economic development engine of the county right now. And the focus is to diversify the economy, move it towards the aviation industry, the offshore wind industry, manufacturing, the utility industry, because those are viable, sustainable, living wage jobs. So we've kind of transitioned during the past 2 years in the pandemic. That was really emphasized by the fact that Atlantic County had one of the highest unemployment rates in the state, and that coupled with the foreclosure rate, it was one of the highest in the country. So we're trying to move out of the pandemic, move back into a sustainable economy, and we're doing that from the Workforce Development Board perspective by looking at work-based learning. We've really transitioned to work-based learning with a focus on working with employers to help them benefit from the talent that is here, working on building raw skills into producing skills for that employer, and working to offset their training costs during that process. The technical school has been instrumental in providing their candidates that they have provided through examples, welding programs, some IT programs. We've also worked with the local community-based organizations to try to make them aware of the opportunities that are there for the members of the community that may not otherwise be thinking about moving into some of these more diverse sectors for Atlantic County. So we're kind of taking the approach that the talent is here, but it has to be convinced that it can be transitioning to something other than customer service. So we've worked pretty closely with Atlantic Cape Community College in developing some curriculum around aviation, because aviation is the other area. Nobody seems to know that in South Jersey, there is an FAA tech center that is employing about 5,500 people in white collar jobs that provide a salary in excess of $100,000 a year. The casino industry obviously is operating at or around $15 an hour. So it is a significant transition. The Institute of Technology, the VOTEC School, is working to develop the next generation of the next two generations, but the focus right now is trying to figure out ways to transition the customer service skills of those people in the hospitality, retail, and tourism industry to move them to these more technical industries, with the idea of having them grow as they work. The focus for the future for Atlantic County is in unmanned aviation. It is in air cargo, aviation maintenance and repair, because North Jersey, the area is pretty much consumed by the current traffic and the current operation. So there's a lot of opportunity for expansion of the area around the Atlantic City International Airport, and it is an international airport. And they're working to develop that over the next 5 to 10 years. So what our chore is now is to get people geared to think in that direction, to look at STEM. I'm attending a STEM initiative for South Jersey this afternoon at Atlantic Cape Community College to talk about plans going forward. But we've been successful with the work-based learning. We worked with a charter service here to provide flight attendant training, which was actually a very, very interesting program. We processed 26 or 27 flight attendants who are now flying with Global X, which is the charter service that is providing flights. They fly, currently they're flying mainly out of Miami, but they're coming up, they do ICE flights, so they'll do government flights. They will do charitable flights and mercy flights. They were in Cuba and working to help with the Central American countries, doing flights there as well. So there is it's an industry that heretofore last year wasn't even considered for Atlantic County. And it is something that is beginning to get legs and grow. Atlantic Cape Community College is part of that development. There is an aviation program for unmanned aircraft and for the GEO, and I can't remember what it's called, but they're working with drones to map areas for civil engineering. So they're in just the very, very early aspects of that opportunity as well. So it's been the last year and a half have really been very progressive for Atlantic County. And there seems to be some enthusiasm building around these opportunities to transition out of hospitality, retail, and tourism.
That's incredible, the work that you're doing with a lot of partners to transition the economy and looking at your assets and looking at where the economy is going. Now, clearly, all the work you're talking about involves a lot of interaction with employers and industry leaders. Can you talk a little bit about how you approach that and some of the ideas about how we might all do that in a way that is more connected and unified? I mean, that's clearly a theme of ours in this work with the partnership with BIA, is we've got to be driven by employers. And it seems like you're doing that through work-based learning, through your board, through other outreach efforts. You really seem to have your finger on the pulse of these opportunities from aviation to offshore wind. how are you going about doing that, and what can we learn from your experience?
I think more than anything, philosophically, one of my missions for this year is to make this agency relevant. And by relevant, I mean valuable to the employers in the business industries. And we're not forgetting hospitality retail. We're not forgetting the casinos. We're working with the casinos as well. But the emphasis and the focus that we placed on those industries other than hospitality, retail, and tourism is that, especially for OJTs, we increased our reimbursement rate for OJTs from 50% to 70%. So while it is capped at $6,000 per contract, which obviously increases the cash flow and makes it faster, the one other issue that we've been marketing with employers, because employers are leery of anything coming in from the government right now. I mean, they just tell you right up front, I don't want to be burdened with paperwork or anything else. We make that as streamlined as we can be. And we tell them that if they've had any experience with the state, the biggest problem with the state is the bureaucracy delays payment tremendously. They may not get paid for months. We can tell them we can turn around payment in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And that is very attractive to them. They've been very responsive to that. We developed a job development unit in June of 2021 that had 2 people in it. One of them is hurt, so one guy is working a lot right now. But as I said, I think earlier, OJT has been a primary focus. We set aside a significant portion of our budget specifically for work-based learning. But we have, I believe, 46 or 47 OJT contracts now. And some of those have completed. So we're looking to build business, especially small business, by helping them. Once those individuals complete and they're retained by the business, then they can obtain another OJT. So they're building their business by using workforce development to do that. We're also beginning to look at registered apprenticeship processes. We are currently, although I hope it will not be much longer, the only USDOL certified sponsor for registered apprenticeship. So we can use our Title I funds to provide both on-the-job learning and related technical instruction cost offsets for registered apprenticeship programs that the companies are pursuing. We're beginning to learn more about, especially the conflict or the interaction with the unions, because most of the unions control registered apprenticeship processes and work processes. Beginning to work with smaller agencies in HVAC, building development. We have become the broker because many of the contracts require that you have a registered apprenticeship operate or a program.
Mm-hmm.
That usually runs through the unions. If they are working with the Workforce Development Board and the Workforce Development Board is a sponsor, we can provide that verification that allows them to bid on public works contracts, government contracts, that otherwise they would have to be affiliated with the unions in order to participate in. So we're building that business based on our ability to be very, very beneficial to those small contractors that are trying to get into the government contract business. So that's been helpful as well. And we've I just received a request from a business that we just had one conversation with, and you know, the request was, well, give us your certification that you know, you're working with us on apprenticeship. And unfortunately, we don't have the apprenticeship in place yet, but there is certainly incentive now for them to look at working with us to develop the work process for the apprenticeship so that they can then become competitive and be part of those bid processes.
That's excellent. A lot of really interesting, important work that you're doing, kind of pushing the envelope in Southeast Jersey.
The other thing, Aaron, that I'll share is, and this was a recent conversation, Sherwood Taylor is my workforce development colleague at the community college. And we're on speed dial with each other on an ongoing basis. So we were talking this morning. You're aware that we have the contract with Atlantic City Electric to provide the line school prep for candidates for the utility. And we have been operating that program for the past 3 years with the outcome or the expectation being that those people that finish that, and these are the underserved populations, these are the minority populations. They have been very successful in working through the course provided by Atlantic Cape, completing the CAST, the Construction and Skilled Trades Test, which is a precursor for consideration of their resume by Atlantic City Electric and the electric utility. And they have been hired. And those people that do get hired in that capacity start out making more than I am, which is really, really invigorating and frustrating at the same time.
Of course, understood.
But you know, the opportunity for some of these people, I mean, if we want to talk about success stories, that's where the opportunities are. So we've been talking about in relation to offshore wind, that we want to be able to create something similar to what is happening with Atlantic City Electric for the offshore wind industry. Once we understand exactly what those requirements are and what the foundation is going to be, because we believe that there is going to be a strong expectation that those jobs are going to be connected to the unions. So we are trying to understand right now, what are the prerequisites to be considered for, you know, those union related jobs. And we're working on, we're going to probably bring a South Jersey workforce collaborative with my colleagues from the rest of South Jersey together to have a conversation about what we think that should look like and how we're going to get the information we need. So we may be looking to College Consortium to have a conversation about that in more detail.
That's exciting. And I think the model you're talking about really is a model that we all should be studying and thinking about, really driven by the needs of a single employer or groups of employers, and then finding a way to connect your leadership in the workforce board with the educational capacity of, in this case, the community college, and in other cases, your vocational technical school partner, in ways that we're rowing in the same direction and not operating in independent silos because we have that common interest.
Yeah,
so I mean, we really want to, through this Pathways initiative, explore how we even redouble our efforts to build on those models statewide of collaboration between workforce and education.
I mean, it's a trite term, but synergy is kind of the theme of what we're trying to accomplish. And it you know, another trite, that it takes a whole village. I mean, if everybody is on the same page and everybody understands what the objective is as a whole, then we can work together to accomplish that and really benefit the communities and the populations of our areas.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So there is a question in the chat from Laura Lynn, which I'm going to read, and maybe Kevin and you, Fran, can help respond. It's a question about what you all are seeing on the front lines in workforce boards about the needs for soft skills, general soft skills, essential skills, and also what you're thinking about in terms of how do we train the next generation of leaders to join the workforce. And then I think connected to that is you know, intergeneration, cross-cultural communications is also obviously a big point. So could you, both of you, maybe reflect on soft skills, leadership, communications, cross-cultural communications, what you're seeing from employers and what you're thinking we should do about those issues?
Sure, I guess I'll start. So I think, and Fran, you would probably agree with this. I think that one of the most common themes we hear from employers is that candidates lack a certain level of soft skills, right? So, you know, showing up to work on time, how to effectively communicate, how to craft an email, some of those things. And so what we do here in Middlesex, and I think now many other local areas are doing it, we try to address some of those soft skills gaps by utilizing things like metrics learning. So we here in Middlesex, we have Skill Up Middlesex, and now there's Skill Up New Jersey. So that concurrently, when people are either in training programs, or I think even more beneficial is when they're in work-based learning activities or opportunities, they're able to then kind of supplement what they're doing by taking some of these online courses, which can help address some of those gaps with soft skills. And part of, I think also, you know, it was a long question, so I'm going to try to answer as many parts of it as possible. But I think what we're seeing now, there's a desire for people, especially with the younger generation, to move up through different levels, either of an organization or move from organization to organization. I think gone are the days when you're going to see somebody working at a employer for 30 or 40 years, or at the same employer. Certainly somebody probably within a 30 to 40 year span, you're going to see that they probably, moving forward have worked, 5 to 6 different organizations. And so, I think that's one of the major dynamic shifts in workforce development that we've seen. But certainly soft skills is one of the most common themes that we hear from employers, and how we need to address that. And certainly, like I said, that can be addressed in many different ways, but we found that trying to weave some of those online training programs definitely help us kind of concurrently work with people as they're in work-based learning activities, or even in other training programs as well.
That's great. And the question goes on to talk about intergenerational cross-cultural communications. Certainly, I think we're all seeing those. How are you approaching, Fran, those types of issues, as you think about preparing people for jobs in a more diverse world, an intergenerational world, working with people from different backgrounds and different cultures?
Yeah, it's been kind of, that just connects to something that we are pursuing, and we'll be beginning in July. We needed to get out of the office and start to engage the communities. So in July, we have 6 family success centers in Atlantic County, and their population is very diverse, surprisingly diverse. We did some initial surveying of the communities and the community's interests, and found a very, very, specific population that would need a different set of processes to address them. So we're trying to shape our services. And when I say our services, I say both State Employment Services and the Workforce Development Board are scheduled now to go out to those locations and provide services in those locations to the populations. So we hope to be able to provide, more of a broad spectrum of education and opportunity to the community, so that we are engaging those cultures as well. And we have the support of the Family Success Centers, which is our liaison to the community, so that we're not rolling in as a government agency and saying, we're going to work with you. We have an endorsement from members of the community to say, hey, this is a good thing, you should really be looking at it. So we're very excited about that. And we're very curious to see how that will enhance what we do within the communities, because we've had many conversations about the bastion of the One Stop, and its existence, and it's currently locked down and only by appointment, and the people are either thinking that it's still closed, or they're very reluctant to come in. So we are going to move out into the community to address some of those intergenerational concerns or questions, hopefully in an environment that's comfortable for them as well. So
that's great. So again, this notion of synergy and partnerships and innovation in the changing world that we live in. So thanks, Fran, for being with us today. And I think we're going to segue to the next part of our program. But Fran, thank you for challenging us to think a little differently and to inspire us with some of the great work you're doing in Atlantic County. And I want to challenge the folks who are participants. We got 29 people from around the state. As you may know, one of the big deliverables of our Pathways work is a strategic workforce plan for the state around innovation technology. And clearly, we're going to need all of your best ideas on how workforce boards and community colleges and other educational partners and employers can work together in new ways. So I'd like to ask everybody, as you listen to this great presentation from Kevin and Joni about the work they're doing in Middlesex, and inspired by the great work that's going on with Fran and his colleagues, what more can we all do together to bring workforce and education together, workforce development and education. So please use the chat to give us your best and brightest ideas of what we can do to build on these incredible partnerships we're already seeing. So with that, I'm going to turn it back to Kevin and introduce Joni Cafaro. Joni is a key leader, executive director of workforce development at Middlesex College. Good to see you, Joni. And Kevin, thank you for being back here to talk about the innovative work that the two of you are doing together that I hope will inspire some interesting ideas that'll come out of this, this group. So please, everyone, use the chat with your best and brightest ideas. And let me turn it back to Kevin and Joni to talk about their innovative partnership. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you. Thanks. So before I turn it over to Joni, I just wanted to kind of set the framework a little bit for the collaboration that exists between Middlesex College and the Workforce Development Board. And I really, I don't think Joni or I could really take credit for it because this relationship is historical. It goes back, it predates us certainly. And one of the first things when I arrived on the scene here 8 years ago was I was pretty impressed already by the commitment of the Workforce Development Board and the college to work together. But because of that strong foundation, I think that we've been working to build an even better relationship and enhancement that complements the work that we're both doing, right? And so Joni's going to talk a little bit about the county's master plan and kind of lay out how the master plan is really going to solidify the relationship that we already have, right? So this slide really demonstrates here some of the things that we're working on together or how we collaborate. So first and foremost, you know, the college, like most other workforce development boards, has representation on the Workforce Development Board, but it's not just somebody sitting in a seat. It's somebody who, you know, we have somebody that represents the college who is in on the ground with what they're doing at the college, and then also really involved in our committees and working to make sure that the Workforce Development Board is really meeting the needs of the community. Secondly, I am a member of the college's Community Advisory Committee. So that gives me the opportunity as well to bring the workforce perspective back to the community college and to the college. And I just have to say, we had a meeting a couple weeks ago and Joni did a great presentation, really kind of a precursor to this today about how we're working together and advising the other committee members about the great collaboration that we have. The other thing that I think works very well is that the college is our one-stop operator. So again, they have skin in the game when we talk about service delivery and how we're meeting the needs of the community. Again, they're not only at the table, but they're actually the entity that has rolled up their sleeves and is working on the ground to help us achieve the goals of the local area. Fourth, we also work collaboratively with the college. They're our provider for our high school equivalency prep classes for our out-of-school youth through our elite youth program. And recently, we just entered into an agreement with the college to provide us with 2 facilitators for our Work First New Jersey job readiness classes. As a matter of fact, those individuals come on board on Monday. So you can see that we try to, whenever possible, partner with the college because it makes a lot of sense. And then most recently, and again, Joni's going to talk a little bit about this, we just recently completed, and it's still ongoing, a supply chain management cohort that we, instead of doing individual training accounts and writing individual contracts for the people that we're training, we decided to take a classroom and cohort approach to it. And it's been very successful. We've kind of borrowed a little bit from the previous New Jersey Department of Labor Talent Network concept, where we bring the employers to the table before we even recruit people into the program. And then the employers also then decide who we believe or who they believe should be good matches for that training. We also this year recently embarked on a 911 dispatcher training program, which was in response to many municipalities in the county coming to us and saying, you know, this is a position that is crucial to our local infrastructures, and we have a lot of turnover. Number one, because it's a stressful position, but number two, many people use that 911 dispatcher position as a stepping stone to other career opportunities in law enforcement. And then we also work collaboratively with the college on several incumbent worker training programs as well. So that just gives you, and I could probably go on and on. I mean, there are other things that we work collaboratively on behind the scenes. It's certainly not just these that I highlighted, but others. And I'm going to turn things over now to Joni so that she can kind of talk a little bit more about how the county's master plan Destination 2040 has further enhanced our relationship, and it's also going to expand our relationship to even open it up to our VOTEC schools here in the county, and really make us, what I would like to see is kind of like that triangle. It's going to be, you know, workforce development, the county college, and the VOTEC schools, really working collaboratively to be proactive and meet the needs of current needs of employers as well as the future needs. So Joni, I'll turn it over to you, and always great to see you.
You too. Thank you, Kevin, and thank you,
Sure.
Aaron. I'm excited to talk about our partnership. The Middlesex County Office of Career Opportunity and Middlesex College have such synergy together. From day one that I started over a year ago. I can't tell you how collaborative this group is. And some of the things that are on the screen are the programs that I'm going to talk about that have been a result of this collaboration. So I think it is so important to align our goals with the county strategic plan, because it's so important for the overall growth of the county. They know better that what the needs are of the county. We connect with employers, and when you bring them all together, you really can build out successful collaborative programs. So I think number one, it was aligning our goals together. You're going to hear about Destination 2040 in a slide or two to really drill down on how the college is connected to their strategic plan. But the true collaboration that I'm talking about is from day one when I came here, we met monthly with Kevin's team. We wanted to talk about new programs. How can we align things? What can we do? I wanted to introduce them to my advisory board. Getting involved together is really what it's all about. They have trained my staff to go out when our corporate training manager goes out and speaks to employers about training. She has enough knowledge to talk about what the county offers, right? So, and contact information so that we can really, we look like we are a whole together going out to our employers. And discussing new programs. I don't build out a new program unless I'm talking to our Kevin's group, right? Because they have funding, they have pipeline of students, they do promotion. We want to make sure that we're building out programs in collaboration.
And
So,
Joni, can I hop in while you're on that point and ask you, both you and Kevin, as you talk about what this partnership looks like. We know that this is the technology and innovation sector, and we're talking about what that looks like. Earlier in the right, exactly. Early in the presentation, you know, you heard Aaron talk about the impact of the pandemic as it relates to the workforce, whether it's the Great Resignation or misplaced workers or career changes. And that really puts even more emphasis on the need for the collaborative partnership that you're talking about. In the technology industry, we know that skills change in a nanosecond based on technology, which changes in a nanosecond. As you and Kevin work together in this partnership, particularly as it relates to technology, what are you seeing as it relates to the need? You heard Fran talk about work-based, Kevin talk about work-based. What we've seen in the industry, particularly technology industry sector, is this skills-based approach for hiring, which we know opens up access to populations that typically may not be going into a 2-year or 4-year program. What does that look like? And I know that's a long question, but that's so critical to this conversation, particularly for technology and innovation. And Kevin and Joni, if you could kind of maybe just address that.
So one of the things that I want to point out is when you look at this slide, right, the two programs that we have listed there is cohort training, supply chain management, and 911 dispatcher. Those have such major connections to technology, right? So just using those as an example, you can see where technology has a major impact on those labor sectors. But I think that technology just about impacts every labor sector across the board. So, you know, we always talk about certain labor sectors, and we kind of say, okay, it's, you know, finance, technology, the life sciences, for example, but all those have a technological component to it. So I think that's important to number one, recognize, and we recognize that all of these things play into technology and how to train people. So I'm just going to give you an example of something that we're doing with some of my, or that here in Middlesex we're doing with in collaboration with some of the other workforce development boards in the state as a pilot. And certainly we're interested in taking this pilot further to even the community colleges. But we just created a new program called Control Alt Succeed. Look at an alternate career path and control your destiny by succeeding in a new career, right? And so we're targeting this particular project toward technology jobs in 4 major areas. One is going to be help desk, project management is the other, cybersecurity, and the 4th is data metrics. And what we're doing is we're bringing people into training programs, leveraging a training provider by the name of Shift Up. I'm sorry, I always confuse that with Skill Up, but Shift Up, and they're going to provide the training in conjunction with LinkedIn Learning. So we're creating a true public-private partnership. And then when the person is in the program, Shift Up is also going to provide some additional support to the individuals in terms of mentoring, and we talked about soft skills, things like that. And then at the back end of it, when an individual finishes that program, they're going to be placed into a micro internship through an organization called Parker Dewey, so that people can actually get the work-based learning aspect of that. And so again, I just mentioned that model because it speaks to the need for technology. And in that project, we're seeing companies across the spectrum, different labor sectors, that are interested in participating. And so I think, Joni, you could probably expand a little bit about some of the other programs in classes and things that you run at the college that also play into technology and weave into that sector as well.
Absolutely. And even with the, Middlesex College is very involved in the programming and software development centers of workforce innovation. And as we build out our CompTIA programs for this fall, A+, IT fundamentals, we're looking at the Microsoft specialist certificate. Well, we already have the Microsoft specialization. So we'll have employers at the table, we'll have the county at the table, and then we have our credit faculty so that we can build out these programs, be able to give them industry recognized credentials, and then provide credit towards the associate side of the house. So I think that's really the model of everything that's on this page. Having advisory board and employers to review and tell us that, yes, these industry credentials are relevant and we want our employees to have them. Have the county at the table to be able to provide a whole array of different things from funding to pipeline of students. And then having our credit side of the house be able to build these pathways so that students, adult learners, can have multiple options. It can be an on-ramp and an off-ramp. You can get an industry credential, you can get some credit, you can go to work with our employer partners. And I think these on the screen right now are what we've built as this model to be able to build out more, especially in technology. I think you're going to see, especially at Middlesex College, technology is going to grow significantly this year. And I think it's a tribute to this Pathways initiative, where we can now build out non-credit to credit pathways with employers involved at the table. So I think you're going to see that. I've aligned a bunch for fall, and I'm really excited to bring more for spring to be able to, work together with the county, the college, and the Pathways Initiative.
And I think, to that point, Joni, I think, I know in one of your upcoming slides, you also kind of highlight how the county is preparing for emerging technology positions as well. And that has become a major part of the county's master plan, right? About attracting, not only supporting the employers and businesses that are here with technology, but also attracting new businesses and training the workforce to meet the needs of those businesses that we're looking to attract here in the county.
Yes. And next slide, I think this goes back to Kevin to.
Yeah, so this is just, again, what I spoke about in terms of how Destination 2040 really recognizes that there are four. I spoke about a triangle, but it's really a square because we also are weaving economic development into it through our Office of Business Engagement. So these are really the four pillars of workforce development when we talk about preparing people for today's needs in the labor market, but also, and more importantly, for the future trends that are emerging. So the county college, the county VOTEC school, my Office of Career Opportunity, as well as our Office of Business Engagement, which is our economic development partner here in the county, we all have to be at the table from day one when these projects, even before the shovel goes into the ground, right? When site selection is happening and when we're having these discussions to attract businesses, these are the key partners that are going to be at the table. And I just had a meeting this week with the county administrator who kind of reinforced that with me. And so, you're going to see some things happening with the county college that I'm not at liberty to say yet, but part of their master plan, which is going to talk more about facilities and things, probably will be unveiled later this summer. I know Linda Shear, who is the vice president at the college, is on the call today. And, Linda and her team were gracious enough to involve me in the master planning process for the college as well. So again, just another way to show that we are really joined at the hip when we're working together.
Right.
So I'll turn it back to you. Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, I'm sorry.
Yep.
Joni and Kevin, as we work through this, the one thing that we look at the 2040 master plan, and I think it's spot on. But when you think about where we are and the needs of where we're going, if you think of maybe like two top points that you really want to drive home with this audience, particularly because I think we're at a pivotal point as relates to community colleges, as relates to workforce development boards, to really define what we look like going forward. Let's say in technology and innovation, you've talked about, how you've highlighted those points, but I want, as we move toward closure, we'll go through this pathway. Sure. But the one thing I really want you guys to leave with us, or maybe like those 2 or 3 nuggets that we really see looking forward. You're so proactive, you're driving the workforce through, with this partnership, but how can we really be impactful for change with those 2, 3 nuggets that you can leave with this audience? So Sure. With that, Joni, I'll let you move to your next slide.
Kevin, do you want to?
So yeah, let me just address that a little bit because I think it actually ties into this slide, right? And so I think if there's anything that I want to leave the audience with today, especially members of the business community who are on the call, is that a lot of times the business community is not always aware of the Workforce Development Board in their area. And what I mean by that is like, who should they be in contact with and how can they get involved and how can the Workforce Development Board assist their business? And I think the best gateway to that is through your community college, right? Especially here in Middlesex, because we have such a great relationship. Colleges are more of a known entity. So, and I would make that recommendation to anybody that's on this call, even in your own, wherever your business is located, whatever county it is, reach out to your community college and say, listen, we want to have a meeting and we want to bring the Workforce Development Board to the table, involve you guys and talk about how we can shape the workforce of the future, how you can assist us with your training needs. And certainly if you have a relationship already with your Workforce Development Board, you can continue that relationship. But I really think that the county colleges can be the gateway to many of the things that we talked about today. And that's really important because those collaborations can really lead to some great things.
Well, I can just tell you, we're going to steal that. I'm really going to tell you that, Ken. We're going to start using the gateway, that the community colleges are the gateway. So know that that's coming if it's not already coined. Okay, that's
fine. I love when my ideas are used. So that's great.
Okay. Well, we're going to be using them, Joni.
Yes. No, I know we're running short on time, and just to add, I think Kevin said it all. And if there was one thing I could get away from this presentation is to really collaborate with your local county government board, because it has helped me in my year be successful. So just on day one, when I started there, Middlesex is very involved in the Destination 2040, which is the Middlesex County Strategic Plan. They're looking at 5 industry clusters. They're looking at connected life sciences, food innovation, autonomous vehicles, and electric. So between now and 2040, we need to build out programs. We need to bring in employers so that we can make our county, the end all is making our employers in our county successful. And I think as Kevin said it really well, he's the gateway for me and I'm the gateway for him. So.
All right.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Thank you both for that. And we are winding down, but the one thing I want to say, when you're inviting other players to the table, when you have a dynamic partnership that exists between the both of your organizations, Middlesex College and the Middlesex Workforce Development Board, when you have such a forward-thinking partnership, it is impactful by definition because you have such a plan. You have everyone involved that needs to be at the table to really make meaningful change. And so if we're talking about employers, you really are bringing industry to the table with you all. It becomes a no-brainer because of the programs that you already have in place. And if as industries really seek to reach these underrepresented populations or those who are upskilling, particularly in technology and innovation, it absolutely is it is like the first place that they need to go. So thank you so much for that. We will absolutely be in touch. Thank you, Joni, and thank you, Kevin. You all have a dynamic partnership. Thank you for sharing it with our audience. And we're going to be reaching back out to you. And Kevin, thank you for being such a great player and being in all parts of our segment today as well as last week. We do appreciate you. Thank you.
And unfortunately,
so
I won't be joining next week. I'm on vacation. You guys worked me so hard. I have to take some rest and relaxation. But
okay.
I'm never far away from workforce
Okay, so
development.
Kevin, that means we can't Zoom you in on vacation. That's not no.
No, I tried and my wife just said no. Come on, like so, yeah.
Okay, absolutely. So thank you for that. And I want to just thank our audience for joining us today. And I just have a couple closing remarks. Next slide, please. Again, we got the QR code on the front side. We're going to get it on the back side. Please share with us, share all of your ideas, your thoughts on this collaboration. Is there something more that you might want to know about workforce development and this partnership that we didn't talk about today? Let us know that. That's our QR code. So hit us up and share with us. Next slide, please. And, the show continues. We love rolling out these collaboratives and talking with you. A week from now, on June 22nd, we will have our health service collaborative. And on June 29th, we will have our infrastructure and energy collaborative. And guess what? We're coming out of the pandemic. We're going to be in person live. We're coming to you live, and we'd like for you to join us in different points in the state. And on Wednesday, July 6th, in person, we will have our manufacturing collaborative. And I think we have our QR code for those meeting dates. And then our technology section is meeting July 13th in person. July is our in-person, so please come and join us. We have some dynamic programs planned as well. But before you join us in person, join us for our next two collaboratives. And this is us. I get to talk about the technology and innovation, our collaborative 7/13 from 11 to 1. And we're going to be at the South Jersey Technology Center at Rowan University. We have a dynamic program planned for you, and we do have some surprises. So if you want to be a part and see what's happening in technology and innovation, come to South Jersey. I know, normally we're in Central or North Jersey for technology. Come down south and see what's happening in the state. Next up, please. We've already talked about you joining us, tagging us on across social media, but also we want to get you involved. So if you're not already one of our partners, please join us. There's another QR code that links you to how to get involved and share your information with us. Next slide, please. And as I say, we've already given you our hashtag NJ Pathways, but hit us across all of our platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube. New Jersey Pathways is present, active, and has a voice across these platforms. So please join us and see what we're doing and let us know what you're doing. Again, hit us on our hashtag and follow us and like us, please, because we do have ongoing content. And is that our next slide? I guess this is where I close and I say thank you for partnering us. Thank you for joining us even in the summertime, and look forward to you joining us in our future collaboratives. Thank you, Joni. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you, Fran.